Great. We've been talking about CDO, and now let's get to that next level of depth, right? Where, as a role of what you play, I feel data governance, data quality, data cataloging, these all become a very important components for that organization, right? And, what would be your take, Tom, in, making that a priority? And sometimes, in cases of a certain organization, it actually becomes a risk. If you can shed some more light of, how can an organization or somebody at your role address it?
Yeah, look, I think that's a great question as well. The stakes are even higher today with enterprise data, regardless of what industry you're in. The commercial opportunities are high, but the risks of mishandling data, particularly client data or market data, are immense. I think that effective enterprise data management can be a competitive advantage and a risk mitigant at the same time. As such, we work very closely with our risk, compliance, and legal teams to review our data governance and quality programs on a regular basis. It's such a fast-moving area and constantly changing area, so you need a really clear enterprise data management framework for consistency, but also leave room for evolution and training. I think one other component I would just add in is related to metrics, and I think I mentioned this earlier, but it's one thing to have a strong data governance framework and to talk about things like the number of data attributes that you may have, the number of data assets that you have, but there is an element of, well, what does that really mean practically? What's the so what equation about it? I think that being able to link and label the outcomes from, let's say, a strong data governance framework to mitigate risk, but also to drive that competitive advantage, is important to do so to what business data strategies and data metrics are, so that the work that we're doing can add that and show that value to the business outcomes. So for example, quite simply, if we're looking at data attributes and the number of, let's say, data assets, and there's a need to reduce file formats and the number of files we send out, if we can identify where there's opportunities to consolidate, fewer file formats, fewer files, better client experience, better time to market.
Great. No, thank you so much. Now let me shift gears to more about, your organization, right? What steps do you take or would advise others to take when acquiring an appropriate talent, right? Because you want them to align with whatever the initiatives which are running in the organization.
Yeah, it's really great and very relevant question, I'm sure, for all of us. I think that you need to combine a search for talent with the building of an effective quote unquote farm system, forming a strong partnership with your human resources colleagues. And like any great team, you need to build a structure where you can develop talent within the organization so that you can both, it's one thing to bring people in to the organization, but you want to retain the talent and show that there's a career path for data practitioners. And I do think, though, that there are certain cases, particularly with an emerging, evolving science, that you may need to look outside the organization for that talent, especially if it's like senior talent or specialized talent. But still, I think showing the career path of the data practitioner, seeking professional development opportunities, all become really real. And as a leader, regardless of what level you're at, always being present, engaging with your teams and colleagues up, down, and across the business lines, I think are just paramount.
Great. Thank you. As a closing takeaway from you, it'll be nice, Tom, for you to kind of, from your mindset of what's the secret sauce to success in a CDA role?
So I would say communicate, be transparent, celebrate success and recognize others. Don't stop moving, changing, and being curious. Constantly check in with colleagues. Keep the message simple, real, and impactful. Keep monitoring and adjusting your approaches as needed. And beyond that, success is anyone's guess, quite honestly.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Tom, for joining me today. Folks, please visit us at cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews.